So let's talk about staging your specimen. How do you do it? And why do you want to stage? And what is staging? So let's talk about those. And also the do's and don'ts of staging. So staging is very personal. You stage your plant any way you want, but I'm going to tell you how I do it, and which is primarily I stage mine as if I'm taking them to a show. They're show worthy, show ready. So, what's the most important thing about staging your plant? One, you have to understand and look at the plant and determine its orientation. Now, that's going to be different for cactus or for succulents or for caudiciforms. Some caudiciforms you can pot them up vertical or horizontal. So you have to figure out how you want to show your specimen in the best way possible. That will then dictate the pot you're going to put it in. So if you're going to do it vertical, it could be in a different size pot versus horizontal. You'll need more of an oblong or a longer pot. So you need to determine its orientation to then help you determine what pot and what size pot. That's the other very critical thing about staging is the appropriate size of your pot. So, which means if you have a very large specimen, you want to make sure there's ample room in that pot for growth. If you have a very small specimen, you want to put it in an appropriate size pot so it showcases that plant. If you put a small cactus in a pot this big, you have too much empty real estate and it's going to get lost. So you want to be able to remember this. Showcase the plant. So select your pot based on the size and the orientation of your specimen. The next thing you have to make a decision is, do I want to use rocks to stage the plant? Now, there's a little controversy over that because you can use rocks, but you don't always need rocks. Sometimes you just want to look at that specimen and not be distracted by too much around it. Now, as far as the don'ts, you never want to put rocks that are going to block or obstruct the caudex or your plant. So if you have a cactus, you don't want to put things just around it to block it. You want to see the beauty of your specimen. So don't cover the caudex or cover the specimen with rocks. So sometimes you don't want to put any rocks. You don't need it. I just want to look at the specimen in an appropriate size pot so it showcases this. Sometimes you want to lay it down and then you have rocks that are strategically placed so it looks like it's resting on that. But it's not loaded with rocks. It's just enough to enhance the beauty of your specimen. The next thing is your topping. You never want to see dirt. You always want to have some sort of topping. Now, here's another don't that I've learned over the years from other master stagers is you never want to use gems, anything polished, because that's not natural. You want to use natural topping. And white is never a good idea to use white because it's going to kind of bleach out your specimen. You want to use something that's going to highlight it. You don't want it to blend in. So you don't want to put, in this particular color, I'm not going to put that same color topping on top. It's going to blend in. You want it to pop a little bit. You want some contrast with your topping. And small is good. But the smaller you have your topping, if you use like sand, it's easy for it to wash out. And you don't want large pieces for topping either. It has to be, again, sized appropriately based on the rocks you have or you don't have. So you want it to look homogeneous. You want it to look as one, kind of like a painting. So make sure, and you always want to have the topping that goes close to the top. You don't want to have a large gap from the top of your soil or topping to the lip of your pot. You don't want it sunk in there. You want to have it lifted up. So remember the critical pieces. Staging is to enhance the beauty of your specimen. Showcase the specimen. Make sure the pot you're going to put it in isn't overpowering the plant. It should be enhancing the beauty of it. And also with the rocks, sometimes less is better than too much. Over the years, I have found myself originally putting too many rocks in. Now I'm putting fewer and fewer. And one more thing about rocks. If you're going to use rocks, make sure you use ones that are interesting, that have some sort of color or contrast, not just the everyday rocks out of a garden. You want to try and get some very interesting looking rocks. I mean, these are pretty cool. Most of these are from Arizona or New Mexico. So if you don't have them, you can use any kind of rocks, but keep the rocks minimal. Okay, so that's some of the quick do's and don'ts and how to stage. This is part one. I'll be following this up with actually staging one of my specimens in one of my pots. So I hope it was informational for you. I hope you learned something, and go forth and stage. Giddy up.